Yeah, so this is actually the second lift in Montana. Today, or not today, but this whole, going into next week, this is Sam's taking the road. Sam's on a freaking road trip. So that's kind of why these videos have been on a bit of a later schedule. I'm trying to work on it. So this one will actually be posted at a regular time, you know, not midnight. So yeah, a little behind the scenes update. But no, this Anytime is sweet. You know, there's that's probably the best part about gyms that are like, you know, franchised in quotes, because like an LA Fitness and like a Planet Fitness, they're all the exact same. It's the same gym everywhere. It's got the same equipment. Like it must be, I don't even know how they do it, right? You would expect the McDonald's everywhere to be basically exactly the same, you know, within a little bit of reason. And that's how most of those gyms are. So if you're a guy who really needs those exact same pieces of equipment every time, well, then those gyms are cool, right? Actually, I don't think I've ever been to an LA Fitness. I know it's fine, you know, that's what I'm getting at. But the cooler thing, like with a Powerhouse or with an Anytime Fitness, is the gist. I don't know. It might kind of suck a little bit, because if you're, you know, Anytime Fitness X holding company or whatever, well, then you make all your money from getting, I don't remember, I think Anytime, they have to use like proprietary security cameras for every location, and like that's the shtick on how it actually, I don't know. But either way, with Powerhouse and Anytime, I know there isn't a specific rule book about what kind of equipment they can have, how big the space has to be. You know, there's definitely specifics. I mean, I know all the Anytimes usually have a bunch of Lifetime Fitness equipment, which, you know, is pretty par for the course. Like, it's regular cables, the leg extensions are solid. You know, I see a lot of hammer strength stuff. Nothing like really kind of specific bodybuilder-ish. Like, the Arsenal stuff has just an extra level of grunge with the heavier stacks and just whatever. But for the most part, it's sweet. But where the owner of a Powerhouse or the owner of an Anytime can kind of change it up is they can make it extra cool. I've been to a few Anytimes where there's like a back room with dumbbells to 150, squat racks, sick lighting, like really dark. That was maybe a year and a half ago. Something like that. I can go back and find it, because that was an awesome workout. That was a bulked workout. I was a bit softer than yesterday's chest day, but that was good. That was a nasty one. So I'm gonna do a return trip to this gym, because this one's really cool. It's in Billings, and it's a gym where it's just built into the city. Like, I always thought it'd be cool to have a gym where it's not just like a lot with a big, you know, or not just a building with a parking lot. It's like just actually underneath whatever apartments or, you know, work buildings are in a city. Those gyms are kind of always the coolest. It's just, there's just something about it. It doesn't have to be a big city either. There's one up in Petoskey, if you're ever up there or close. Super cool gym. It's called I think it's called Center City Fitness or Center City Gym. I think Center City Gym. But it's really cool, because top level, regular cardio, you know, still cool machines, like kind of vintagey, but the basement is where they really get fancy, because there's a bottom level, all the grungier stuff, racks, like, you know, more steel dumbbells, heavy machines, it's just the dynamic from first floor to basement is awesome. And there's like a back room where it used to be a bank, and that was an old vault with the big ass steel door. And there's just, I think, one bench, a squat rack, and a dumbbell, or what am I saying? And a deadlift platform. And it's freaking sick in there. I never got to use it because I never squatted down there. But no, next time I'm up there, that's definitely, you know, if I can have a strong squat at the same time, that would be freaking sweet. But a little bit of a morning lift today, which when I'm dieting down, I'm not so picky. If I'm trying to bulk up, I like morning cardio, a good chunk of meals, more than probably 50% for the day, and then a workout usually past 2 p.m., but really anytime. You know, maybe I do a late one, maybe I do one right at 2, whatever. Because I want to be fully carved up, totally full, energized, rested, recovered, and just, you know, really maximize my force output and just the amount of work that I can get done in that workout. But when I'm dieting down, the goal of these lifts is a little bit different. You know, obviously I want to go hard. I want to get fully pumped. But, you know, it's not as, let's just say the pressure isn't as on as it is in an off season. Like when I'm trying to grow, I need every lift, or, you know, I want every lift awesome in the first place. But if I'm growing, those workouts really count. Because to grow is much harder than it is to maintain. You know what I'm saying? So it's that's where with dieting down, your training actually doesn't have to be so wild. Like I don't need to do, when I do a heavy set of bench or squat, like that's good to maintain my strength, of course, but I don't have to do it that wild. It's actually a little bit too much because I don't need to risk injury. But you know, what I'm really aiming for is just a solid pump, good activation, still a solid amount of workload. But the fact that I'm not eating so much food just means, you know, the overall weight and work of the workout will just be a little bit less, you know. So that's not an intentional change. That's just a consequence of, you know, less calorie intake, if you get what I'm saying. Like if I'm bulking up, then for me to do a heavy set for 10 is going to be much heavier than if I was dieting down for a heavy set for 10. The sets subjectively feel the same, you know, but if I'm weaker and I don't have the same muscular endurance because I'm dieting, well, then the set will look different, if you follow me. So that's where I'm not as concerned with numbers. Like when I see guys tracking everything on, you know, a regular notepad, which I'm not saying that's bad. I just don't do it. What I like is more so knowing the feeling of what weight is about right for that day, and then, you know, bringing it up to wherever that level is and pushing it from there. So it's like no matter whether, you know, maybe I feel like shit, or I didn't sleep, or I was sick, or maybe I slept really well and I'm extra recovered, you know, let's just use bench as an example. Usually 3 plates, a 315 bench, is about par for the course for me. If I'm decently well rested, that's manageable weight. So let's say one day, you know, I feel extra recovered, extra rested, I'm ready for chest. Well, then I can probably push it a little higher. 365 might feel the same as that 315 on a regular day, you know? And maybe I was sick a little bit, maybe something happened, my recovery was off, but I'm still hitting chest. Well, then, you know, maybe I need to just do 275 and pull it down a little bit. But in either case, it still feels the same, you know? So I guess it's kind of a tricky thing I'm sort of, you know, trying to bring up. But it's more so like, how hard can I go on these sets in a subjective kind of sense? Because as you know, as long as I know I'm bringing it, well, then I'm good. So I don't care if I'm in an off season and I can do 365 for whatever, or if I'm dieting down. I mean, in the last prep, I always do an incline bench with 2 plates for a couple sets, you know. So it's not exactly about you know, what the weight number is. I'm more concerned with what it feels like, you know. If 315 felt like 405, I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But you know, if 225 feels like 315, I'm just gonna have to do it. So that's a little, I'm saying that in kind of a weird way. That's not exactly how I'd want to. I think you get the gist, at least just a little bit. But no, so for today with back, my main concern is getting pumped to SHIT. Whether that's from more pull downs or more rows, that's just something I'm gonna have to see. So I assume it's not gonna be busy. It's only 7:30, so it should be decently empty in here. So I don't think there's anything that's stopping me from getting pumped. So let's just get started. I think this is gonna be a good start for today. I'm not a hater on a one-sided movement. I know some people are, but it seems kind of silly. Like, sure, you know, it's half the speed of a double arm set because you got to do it on both sides. But I think the balance of that is you get 100% focus on just one side at a time instead of splitting it up. I'd never imagine hating on a single-sided movement like this. But with this cable row and the fact that I'm bent forward a little bit, turns it into a very low lat squeezing kind of feeling. And maybe that's just like a execution kind of thing, but that's one thing I really want to feel. Because when we're talking the details of your back, right? We got lats and traps and your lower back. What's really going to give you that kind of grainy Christmas tree look, at least as far as I know, is really developing your deeper inner lats, like right when they insert. Because it's not that your lower back is so big it sticks out. It's that your lats bump out above that sort of triangular shape on the outside. So some movements I feel way up here in my lats, but with something like this, especially with my elbow tucked down, I'm getting very deep. Like I can feel it tightening up all the way down in the corner where it inserts at its lowest point. So I think a few of these will be good. Let me just get this Zenitsu edit going and get real. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. One more of those. Two. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's pick something else. All right, there we go. So this is going to be a little nastier, but not like I say nasty, I don't mean like bad form, right? At the beginning, these reps are going to look fine. I'm not swinging, I'm not doing anything. But I think some people like the idea that if you can't do a perfect rep, or like if you start to swing a little, then that's too much. You're ego lifting, you got a racket, the set is over, which I don't agree with. You know, let's say I can do 10 reps, decent form, like pretty, not like textbook perfect, but like no swinging, and I can do another 5 with a little bit of umph. I think those 5 are still effective. They're adding to the total lat destruction of the movement. Now, I'm not saying every set has to be like that, but I definitely don't like the bashing of partials at the end of a set. If my whole set was like partials, then yeah, that'd be stupid. I would agree. But partials at the end, that's the whole point. You know, I want every little freaking drop out of my lats as I can get. So let me get this matrix edit going and go crazy. One more. All right. Let's move on again. I thought I was going to drop it, didn't you? Let's pull down machine, it'll be good. This is like my favorite machine as a beginner. Haven't touched it as much lately, but that just calls for a return now. Yeah, and the stack is freaking heavy. I'm not stacking it. All right. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't really want to do one more. That was good, but that wasn't do another set good. Let's do a pullover. Let's change it up a little. I'm usually not a double arm pullover fan, but the fact that I haven't done it for so long is kind of calling me to. So instead of single arm, very pumpish, let's start these a little more controlled and squeezing. And then once I can't really substantially squeeze at the bottom, then get a little nastier. I'll sure have to hit play. Let me think for a second. I don't want to finish with that, but maybe this is going to be like a pre-exhaust. Let me think. But one more set, I think that'll be it. I don't think there's any need for another pullover. This pull down will be good. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's pose down. I'm excited for every pose down, but this one especially. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's do a little accounting. How many sets was that? There was 2 sets of cable rows, 2 sets of narrow grip pull downs, 1 set of machine pull downs, 1 set of pullovers, 1 set of neutral grip pull downs at the end. Yeah, dude, 7 is my freaking lucky number. I've been saying I do 8 sets, but really it's been 7. And I think if you really bring it, then 7's enough. You know, I think that's not a blatant statement. That's not across the board. I'm saying, at least for me today, with 7 solid working sets, that was enough for a pumped and what I would call stimulated back. So, an effective lift, right? But maybe for you, the feeling of enough is more like 10 sets. Or maybe you're doing a little bit less intensity and then you're doing 15 sets, you know, a little more volume work. As long as you're pumped at the end and you went hard, I wouldn't sweat it too much. But let's see how we're looking. Actually, I gotta move forward one more notch. Okay, are we gonna focus? Yeah, there we go. All right, here's a good spot. And this, holy shit. I'm feeling like a beast just sitting here like this. Nothing like the clip of Lavroni walking around. Like, he's walking this wide naturally, not even doing a lat spread. But let's actually run through some poses here. Oh, guys. Oh, man. Holy shit. Oh my goodness. That was good. Yeah. So pumped, stimulated. Even standing with no shoulder pump, that sort of line separating tricep and rear delt is very apparent, right? This is why I'm always hyping up rear delts, even over side delts, because it actually gives your shoulder this rounded over look and totally caps it off. Like, if you want round shoulders, I'm not saying shoulder press is against your goals, but even when I was still hitting my shoulders, because I wanted them to, you know, keep growing, they weren't bigger than my arms were, I got over shoulder pressing kind of quick. Your front delts get hit every time you do chest. You know, I don't care how awesome you are at mind muscle connection, it's just gonna happen. So for me, my focus was always split between side delts and rear. Front were just kind of already there. But you know, your situation may differ. If you need bigger front delts, you can keep hitting them. But out of all 3, I think it's a little bit of an illusion or a misconception that the front delt is such a powerful, you know, dominant figure of your shoulders. I'd say rear delt comes first, followed by side, followed by front. So basically the total opposite of what you'd normally think. But I think nothing else to say there. Let's freaking get out of here, man. It was a good back day. There we go. yeah, I can leave feeling like a G after that one. That was good. And essentially hit every box of the kind of sets that I wanted to hit. I've been saying this the last couple days. A heavy one, a squeezing one, some pump, faster reps, and some slower squeezing reps. I mean, even if it was narrowed down less than that, it would still be a good lift. I think there's a perception that we have, or that people have, with a skill, because it needs practice, it needs intent, there's a lot of steps involved. Like if today I wanted to, completely drop everything and learn how to play the violin again, which I wasn't super good at in high school, but I could do it. Well, then, I'm going to go through the proper steps, level up my, specifics, and do training, little, what do you even call it? Training bars, and kind of work my way up from there. And it's not an exertion thing. That's just a mental, intent kind of thing, And to translate that to the gym with working out, kind of, I don't want to say bodybuilding in terms of competing, but just to build muscle, which really is bodybuilding, but whatever, let's just call it lifting. Yes, there is skill involved. Yes, there is the execution of the reps and how you do them, and actually feeling the intended muscle group. That's something you do get better at over time, and you should get better at over time. But the idea that supersedes effort in this particular endeavor is not true, I do not feel. So what I'm getting at there is, sure, you can have a workout that in its essence is potentially more effective than someone else, right? You can have a workout where you did the right pull down and pull over and whatever, you hit your whole back very well, very specific. You do a good stretch pull down, and then you follow that with a flared elbow, upward back targeting row, and whatever kind of pullover. Everything is in place for a really good workout. But in that situation, if there was another guy, maybe he's somebody who doesn't have any Instagram, all of his training knowledge is purely from the Arnold Encyclopedia and some old guys from his gym who taught him how to work out. And then he comes in like a beast and does 3 sets of pull downs, 3 sets of bent over barbell rows, and 3 sets of, let's say, an old school Nautilus pullover, because this grungy guy also has a grungy gym, and he kills it. He absolutely wrecks every set. Well, then guess what? That guy is I think he's gonna have a more effective workout. He's gonna go harder, the effort's gonna be there, he's gonna do more, however you wanna call it, damage or stimulation, and frankly, if he really brings it harder, then he wins. That situation wins. So it's along the lines of, you can't, or I guess, how am I trying to say this? I don't mean this totally blatantly, but I'm saying this is kind of my thought on the matter, is, let's say a simpler workout is going to be more effective if done insanely well than the most perfectly optimized workout done scrappily. Now that's obvious, all right? So the rebuttal to that is, well, I'm going to do a really smart workout and I'm going to kill it, which in that case, great. That's sweet. That's awesome. I'm not trying, I really do not want to give off the idea that I'm saying any particular style of training is inherently bad. That's not what I'm getting at. For me, I'm much more, I don't want to say judgmental, but I guess that kind of is the right word, on people's approach to the gym in a more subjective sense. Like their approach in terms of how hard are they bringing it? How hard are they willing to go? Are their sets legit, serious? Are they killing it? Are they going after it, and do they really mean it? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a more important differentiator than what kind of workouts you do. Rather than saying, oh, I do this, and this split and whatever, and then someone else saying, oh, well, I'm actually doing more effective because I do this, and this. That's not, I don't see it. That's just a few levels better than the guys who are like, well, actually Goku is multiversal level and he could totally beat Saitama because he can do ultra. Like, you're basically saying my dad's stronger than your dad at that point. I kind of play into it. I'm like, oh, science-based lifter, whatever. Look, my concern is looking at guys as a guy. Like, am I looking at someone and saying, this guy's a beast, he's killing it, the effort is there, or not? And that's my criteria. I'm never going to look at someone who's clearly got badass results and think, he doesn't know what he's doing. Because clearly he does. The results speak for themselves, But just something to think about, right? I think the main descriptor, or the primary attribute that's going to define your level as someone in the gym, which it's not a competition, but just, bear with me here, is just, what percentage of effort and just like excitement can you bring to the table on the regular, on average? If that's 90%, you're a daily or like 6 times a week, 5 times a week lifter. That's not even a question. Like, you're hitting this shit and people can tell just by looking at you. You don't have to be 250. A lean 180 is sick. Like, do not get me wrong. When I look back at myself at 180, I'm like, that was a good build. Just a different size, That is where I feel the value really is. It's not so much. I mean, really, I like resonating with this kind of quote. It's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? So, I want to keep it as simple as that. I don't even like the fact that I keep playing into this back and forth because I'm like, optimal. Like, I want everybody to get big in whatever way that they like the most and that can actually get results for them. That's really my honest take. That's what I want to give away. So I got to stop even referencing it because I'm playing into it. Then that's not what I want to do. So if you got any other burning topics that we can get into for tomorrow's video, because I don't want to be this science-based debater. Like, that's not what this is for. Then I guess let's turn this comment section into a little bit of a Q&A kind of deal. Like, do you have any particulars that any deep diving questions you think you might want to ask? I think I can only think of so many things. So if you get, but make it, don't say what's my favorite split. That does not count. That's a basic question. Let's get a little bit fancier with these. A question that I have not answered before, I think is what I'm really getting at. So yeah, I think nothing else for me. Awesome back day. So I'll see you tomorrow for some arms.